Hello everybody, this is Hollywood Joe Williamson from Hollywood's World of Sports bringing you a special interview today. As most of you know, I reported on a few times over the last couple of weeks about a special show going on at Kuwaitan Casinos on November 24th in Sault Ste. Marie. It's at the Sault Ste. Marie location, so you don't get confused because there's multiple locations. And today I'm bringing you a special guest on for Hollywood's World of Sports.
Where is he?
He's a good friend, a guy I used to manage when I was managing the Indies in Grand Rapids. His name is the gentleman John Campbell. How you doing today, John?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing
Hi,
good.
Hi, Mom.
So, anyways, November 24th.
Yes, November 24th. It's going to be a huge show. Many different former WWE superstars, some old school stars, Demolition, Powers of Pain, Al Snow, who I'm wrestling, ODB, current TNA superstar, I'm forgetting a bunch, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, stacked up and down, top to bottom with names. I'm lucky to even be on it.
So. Well, that is a very good group of people to be in. Now, you said you're facing Al Snow. And,
yes.
I watched your promo last week about Al Snow, and you had some pretty intense words for what you were going to do to him. And I was just wondering, what are your intentions of this match? I know it's going to be probably the biggest match of your career to date, but I've heard a lot of people that emailed me after seeing the promo video on my Facebook page that said that your intentions might be to try and get a TNA contract because he's one of the head of talents there.
Well, I mean, I think that's every wrestler on my level's intentions, no matter whether it's, wrestling Al Snow or, just wrestling somebody somewhere. You never know who might be watching, you never know who might discover you, and if something that great comes out of it, then, awesome. But if it doesn't, I'm still in the ring with Al Snow. I've met Al Snow quite a few times, and, he's just a fountain of knowledge, and he's a great guy to learn from, and, never say never. And if something like that does come of it, then great. But if it doesn't, then, that's great too.
Yep. And backtracking a little bit, to this big match, I mean, because you've been around for 5-6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
What are your first thoughts when you first became a pro wrestler? Like, what made you decide to get into it and decide this is the path you want to try and go for?
Ever since I was a little kid, I loved wrestling. A lot of kids, especially where I lived, they were all about superheroes and comic books. To me, wrestling was all of that and more. It was larger-than-life people doing larger-than-life things, and as a kid, I could really relate to that. You'd see guys like Hulk Hogan doing all these awesome feats and things like that, and you're just, at least I was captivated, very captivated. And I was always a fan, but it was never something I really thought I could do. And then one night I was up late channel surfing, and I think I was 10 or 11 at the time, just, it was summertime, so, stay up all night. I was just channel surfing, and it was like on at 2 in the morning, I saw ECW for the first time.
Yep.
And, I would watch ECW, and I would follow ECW up until they, went bankrupt.
Yep.
But watching that, it's like, these guys are also larger-than-life people doing larger-than-life things, but, they just kind of looked like your average person. Not a lot of their guys were, huge and muscular. Not a lot of their guys were, completely over the top, had them over the top characters. It looked like, like your neighbor.
Yeah.
It looked like your neighbor put on, some wrestling gear and started wrestling. And I'm like, if that guy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And then I got into wrestling and found out that definitely wasn't the case, and I had a lot to learn and all of that stuff. But, that was basically the catalyst from, something that I wanted to do but never thought I could, to something where I was like, I can do that.
Now, a lot of you had a rough road your first couple of years. You've told me numerous times that you kind of didn't learn the correct things right away, etiquette, where to work. Obviously,
I basically went in blind.
Yeah, and how did you correct that? Who kind of came along and corrected that for you?
Well, when I first got in the business, there were a couple of people who actually broke me into the business, and they showed me a few things, and I'm like, oh, I know these few things, I'm ready to go, and it turns out that definitely wasn't the case. But through meeting people and networking, I actually got into contact with Eric Freedom, who I had known before I even got into the business. And so through Eric Freedom, Eric Freedom retrained me and, kind of taught me the right way to do things, and, here I am.
And, Eric's obviously been a big influence in your career the last few years. Do you think a lot of that influence is because you've worked with him so many times in the ring? You guys have had some very classic and stellar matches.
I think that has a lot to do with it, but I think it has a lot to do with just Eric's personality. If Eric Freedom... a lot of people are intimidated by Eric Freedom. He's... and you have a story about that.
Yes, I do.
But a lot of people are intimidated by him. He's been in the business for over 20 years, and... he has this reputation of being, at least in my opinion, and I know a lot of other people's opinion too, as one of the best guys out there, not only to learn from, but to watch. So, a lot of people see that and they're intimidated. But once you get to, know Eric on a personal level, how I know him, and he actually became one of my best friends, I think that was kind of the point where I was like, not only is this guy an excellent person to learn from in the ring, but he's an excellent person to be around and to know, and he's a really good friend of mine. And I think that kind of shined through in the matches themselves, because, we did wrestle for, God, we've had, I don't know how many matches, but I think, just because we knew each other on that personal level, we gelled better.
Yep. Now, if you had to, if you had to choose one, a favorite match with Eric that you wrestled in, because I've seen a few of them on YouTube.
I would have to say, just from a personal standpoint, it would have to be a tie. It would have to be me, Cody Kelly, Jean Paul, and Rex Hart versus Eric Freedom, Jimmy Blaze, and Road Dogg, Jesse James. Yep. Just from a personal standpoint, because, not only were a lot of my really good friends in that match, but, Road Dogg Jesse James was in that match too, and, he's somebody else I, grew up watching pretty much, so, I was a huge DX fan back in the day. And I would also have to say, from another personal standpoint, just because it was a lot of fun, and I wish footage of this match would come out. It was me and Eric Freedom. We actually main evented. It was called Camp Omelet. Yep. It was this big festival out in the Traverse City area, sponsored by, what was radio station, KLT.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun too, just because, it was this huge outdoor festival, tons of fans, and we just went out there and, we tore it down, and I love that match, and I wish I had it on tape.
Okay. Now, right now, you're really developing into a big single star. I've seen you wrestle a lot of singles matches, but before you...
I'm developing.
Yes, you're developing, yes. Before you really broke out into singles, you were part of a group, and still somewhat part of that group when they get together, the Canadian Hit Squad.
Yes.
Now, there have been different variations of the Hit Squad and different members.
Lots of them.
Why don't you reflect on a few of those guys for me, and how you enjoyed your time when you first ran with them?
I enjoyed my time with all of them, just because everybody besides Rex Hart, who I got to know later, all of those guys I was friends with before we were even in the business. Yeah. All of them.
Yep.
And anytime you're on the road with your best friends and you're doing something that you guys have always wanted to do, you know, it's always a good time.
Yeah.
Not always a good time, but, you know, 9 times out of 10 it's a good time.
Yeah. And, you know, like, a lot of people are always asking about Cody Kelly, Iron Man.
Yes.
How's he doing these days?
He's doing really good. Cody, if you see this, I'm going to be in your area in January, I think. So, but he's doing really good. He's living in North Carolina. He's in the Army now. He has a wife, and he has a great life.
Good.
You know, he was one of those people, he loved the wrestling business, and he loved his time in the wrestling business. And he tells me all the time he still gets the itch. But, you know, just having that family and all of that stuff, you know, being on the road, it's just, you know, I would say it might be a different story for me if, you know, I had a family. I wouldn't want to be on the road as much as I am either.
Yeah.
So.
Like, how hard was it for you to... Because, like I said, you ran with Nick Vancorer and Cody Kelly for a long time. Mm-hmm. How hard was it to transition from teaming with guys to wrestling singles?
You know, not that hard, and I actually enjoy wrestling singles a lot better. You know, nothing against those guys, because I like doing tags too. If anybody wants to book me on a show and put me in a tag, I'm fine with that. But I think as a singles wrestler, you only have to rely on yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to rely on so many other people as far as the match itself is concerned. You know, you can be focused on what you're doing, and you can be focused on what your opponent's doing.
Yep.
And not have to worry about, you know, a bajillion other people and what they're doing. So.
Now, we have 2 titles in front of us here. Well, why don't you talk about these 2 titles real quick? I know the backstory on this one, but...
Well, the people at home might not.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying. You know, obviously you wrestled for NWWA.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Tell me the story on that.
Okay, well, NWWA was a great promotion. It was actually, I'd say, too much Diet Coke. It was actually probably one of my favorite places to work out of everywhere I've worked. And I actually won this from a gentleman by the name of Scott Powers back in July of 2011. And what happened was this was their regional championship. And I took the regional championship and turned it into the Canadian National Heritage Championship.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of many different factors, NWWA doesn't run shows anymore. They actually run under a different name now. But they don't book me, so I'm not going to put them over. Shh. And, but, no, they run as ARW. But, you know, this was their belt, and I've kind of taken this belt, and, you know, I take it everywhere I go, and it's kind of my version of Ted DiBiase's $1 Million title.
Yep.
So.
And recently you've been...
I don't defend it because I don't have to.
Oh, yeah. And recently you've been carrying around the AIWF title.
Yes. AIWF. For those who don't know, I love the AIWF. I love what they're all about. They're definitely picking up where NWA left off as far as being, you know, the affiliate programs, and there's many different AIWF affiliated promotions. Yeah. I'm actually going to be on their version of Starrcade coming up on Saturday.
Okay.
I don't know when this is going to be up, but Saturday, November 17th.
Yep.
Defending that against Rough Crossing, and you know the AIWF World Champion's going to be there. Also the AIWF, you know, Iowa State Champion, all sorts of
pretty much all the major players.
Yeah, everybody. I think every major AIWF title is going to be defended on that show, so it's going to be huge. And I really like what AIWF's about. They're about, you know, helping the independents instead of trying to, you know, hold everybody down. Yep. And it's a great thing to be a part of, and I'm very fortunate and I'm very blessed to be a part of that and represent them as the Michigan champion.
Now, I recently saw you in their top 5 rankings, I believe, and right by you was Matt Hardy.
Yes.
How would you feel if you ever got a chance to wrestle Matt?
I would be ecstatic to wrestle Matt Hardy. I think Matt Hardy is a great wrestler. I think Matt Hardy, he's got that big name value, so he could draw in a crowd. And if anybody out there wants to book me versus Matt Hardy, hey, I'm willing to give that a go. So
yeah. I'm gonna list you 5 companies, and I want you to give me, a couple reasons why you would wrestle for each company, what appeals to you.
Okay.
First, I want to start with Dragon Gate.
Dragon Gate. I don't really know a whole lot about Dragon Gate. I know there's a lot of great wrestlers that wrestle there, but just because it's not as accessible, as say like a WWE, a TNA, or even a Ring of Honor, which I can just turn on the TV and watch. But I think that would appeal to me just because I think I could offer a different style. Yeah. I have more of that old school, almost Memphis type style, and I don't think a lot of people there do that. If they do, I'm sorry, but I've never really seen the product. Yeah. But I'd love to work for Dragon Gate, for sure. What
about New Japan Pro Wrestling?
I would love to do New Japan's, how many top superstars have come out of New Japan? I would love to work for New Japan.
Quite a few, and a lot of them.
I would just love to go to Japan in general.
Yeah.
That's always been on the bucket list too. I've had like maybe 4 major things that have been on the bucket list. One was to be, in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid, and I've done that.
That's awesome.
I've wanted to go to Japan, I've wanted to go to Europe, and I wanted to go to Mexico. Okay. And wrestle at least one match in any of the major companies.
And that's what I'm going to get to. I'm going to get the 3 major companies here.
All right.
Ring of Honor. What appeals to you about Ring of Honor?
Ring of Honor appeals to me because you can tell the people in Ring of Honor care about the product. They aren't as accessible as a TNA or a WWE, but like I said before, I can turn on the TV and I can catch them, at certain times. And I think a lot of the guys there, that shines through, through the cameras, or if you're ever at the live events, that the guys really just go hard and they try to put on a great show. And that really appeals to me, because a lot of guys, take it easy tonight. At least from what I can see, there's no taking it easy.
Yeah. What about TNA Impact Wrestling?
I'd love to work there. Yeah. I'd love to work there. Just because, they're a major player.
Now, do you think, obviously WWE, I shouldn't even have to ask that, because that's everybody's dream.
Yeah. Well, I kind of put the two, whether or not they're on the same level, I guess that's personal opinion, but I kind of put them on the same deal. One watches more than the other. Yeah. But, I can turn on Spike TV, I can watch TNA. I can turn on USA Network, I can watch WWE. Yep. Either one, to me, that would be making it.
Now, as a wrestling fan, do you think, like, other wrestling fans are a little bit unfair to Ring of Honor and TNA just because WWE's been around so long? Because a lot of people are always knocking both products and are always so high on WWE.
I think people knock a product because they want, and I might be wrong on this, people knock a product because they want to see that product do better. And I say that because if Ring of Honor and TNA were on that same level, nobody'd be knocking it. But, people want to see Ring of Honor get to that level. People want to see TNA get to that level. And whether they're just knocking it, that's it. I know as a wrestling fan personally, I would love to see an alternative. Yeah. I would love to see something that's out there and that's different and that's completely, against the grain. And I think one of those companies has the potential to do as such.
Okay. Now I'm gonna do a word association, and for people, and want you to describe them in a few words.
Okay.
I'm gonna mix them up with people who you've wrestled and met and have inspired you. So I'll start out.
I don't want to bury anybody.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Cody Kelly.
My best friend, in and out of the ring.
Nick Van Cor.
A brother.
Roddy Piper.
Hero.
Bret Hart.
Hero.
Eric Freedom.
Father figure.
Rex Hart.
Great guy in and out of the ring.
Hollywood Joe.
Who?
Yeah.
No, good manager. Wish he would have gotten more of a chance.
I appreciate that. And any funny road stories you might want to share?
Funny road story.
Or anything. Just one that sticks out to you a little bit.
Okay, I have to think about this one for a minute. So I'm usually asking these questions on my podcast, but I've never actually really thought.
Well, you're thinking I got one for you.
You got one?
For about you.
About me?
Yes.
Alright, let's hear yours about me.
Alright, well, it was last August. You were down in Grand Rapids.
Yes.
For 2 CWM shows. I remember you stayed at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And the Saturday night, after the Saturday night show, we went out to a little place called Wayland Ducello's. Cheap pop for Wayland Ducello's there.
A bunch of us did.
Yeah, it was me, you, Chase Matthews, or Matt Byes would probably kill me for using his real name, and Josh Roderick. And you've always told me that you don't drink, at least, I mean, you don't drink alcohol. And I remember
Not my thing.
Yes, well, that's good.
Diet Coke.
Yeah, Diet Coke, Mountain Dew.
They'll kill you just as fast.
I remember, I think one of us ordered mozzarella sticks, and it came with it was either marinara or ranch sauce.
Yeah.
And I remember no one was using the ranch sauce, and you took the cup and you just drank all the ranch.
I did. I don't remember that.
What was your mindset behind that?
Well, I don't remember that, so I mean, I don't know.
I got a picture of it somewhere.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I'll have to show it. But
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
But have you ever done any like weird stuff like that? Just like take sauces like that and just drank them? I mean,
No comment.
no comment.
No, I got a road story. This is probably, I've been in the business for about 3 or 4 months at this point. And it was me and a couple other guys, and we went down to, this is my first out-of-state booking ever, down to Bourbon, Indiana for NWA Underground.
Hey, you told me the story.
And so on the way there, my tire blows.
Yep.
Well, yep, they don't know this story.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. I'm just kind of laughing because you told me a few times.
Okay, so yeah, tire blows. So we put on the spare, get to the show, no problem. During the show, okay, they had a big 2-ring battle royal, and during the battle royal, I get chucked over,
Yep.
and I don't know, I land funny, and I hurt my ankle. So I'm in match 3, and the battle royal is first.
Yep.
So I tape my ankle up really good,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I can go out and do this. Get out to the ring. Somebody in match 2 had thrown baby powder,
Yeah.
and the canvas wasn't actually canvas; it was vinyl.
Yeah.
And so nobody cleaned up the baby powder, and during the match, I had my opponent's feet, and he was going to kick me off, and I was going to take the buckle.
Yeah.
Well, when he did that, my feet went out from under me, and I landed all fakakted, and my left hand, these fingers, touched my wrist. Yeah, so my hand started swelling up,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay. So finish the match. And
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So finish the match, yada yada. My hand is about the size of a softball at this point, so if you ever seen a softball, put fingers on them, and that's what my hand looked like.
Okay.
Getting ready to go. I didn't know I had a broken hand at the time. I'd never broken really anything at this point, so, you know.
Yeah.
Get ready to go, driving home, bam, the spare tire blows out. So this was at about, I'd say 12 midnight.
Yeah.
It wasn't until about 4:30 in the morning we found somebody from Grand Rapids to drive to to where we were in Indiana, which was South Bend.
Yeah.
I'll never forget South Bend because I spent entirely too long in that town. No offense to South Bend, Indiana, but I'll get to that in a minute. And so yeah, 4:30 in the morning, finally get somebody to take us to Grand Rapids. Yep. Well, I get to Grand Rapids, I sleep for about an hour, wake up, start making phone calls. You know, I finally found somebody where I live.
Yep.
To go to my house. I told them where I stash all my money. I'm like, take all of my money, put it in your gas tank, please come down, I need to get my car from Indiana.
Yeah.
Well, by the time he gets to Grand Rapids and we get back down to South Bend, Indiana, it's about 7 o'clock. No tire place is open at 7 o'clock. At least none that we could find.
Yeah.
And this is before, you know, any of us like had GPSs or anything like that.
Yep.
So, you know, if there was, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So, what do two people who have no money, nothing to eat, and only enough money to get the spare tire the next day and some gas to get home do? We bum around Indiana. And at this point, my hand had gone from the size of a softball to, I don't know, maybe about a coconut.
Yeah.
Like, my hand was just huge. It was really gross. And I couldn't bend it, I couldn't move it. I was in an excruciatingly amount of pain, but I was too tired to even register or care. So I'm like, I gotta go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
Go to the emergency room. In the emergency room from 9 at night to about 3:30 in the morning because there was a 3 or 4 car pileup.
Oh.
So on top of that, and then all the people waiting in front of me.
Yeah.
So finally get my hand splinted, because
Yep.
they couldn't do a cast. Get my hand splinted. Now we have really nowhere to sleep. So we slept underneath my friend's truck.
Yep.
We slept underneath my friend's truck in Walmart parking lot. And woke up the next day, found a used tire place, thank God.
Yeah.
He put the tire on because, you know, I was helpless because of my hand.
Yeah.
Drove home, and I proceeded to sleep for about 2 days straight.
Yeah.
And
my phone's going off. That's fine.
that is your phone.
Yes.
But yes, that was my, and not so much humorous, but just like how much bad stuff can happen to one person in one day.
And in one town.
Yeah, and in one town.
So.
And it's nothing against anybody in South Bend, Indiana. Just, I had a really bad experience there one time, and I apologize.
You know, you've had a lot of experiences, a lot of great matches.
Well, thank you.
And a lot of classic promos, not just me saying that, but a lot of people that have followed you have always said that. With all that being said, November 24th coming up, Al Snow, Superstar Showdown.
Yep.
Any final words for the fans or Al Snow?
I have a couple. I have a couple plugs I want to get out of the way. November 17th, Rubicon, Wisconsin, AIWF Midwest WrestleFest. November 24th, UWE Superstar Showdown at the Quaden Casino in Sault Ste. Marie. For all my up-to-date bookings, check me out on Facebook.com/John Campbell X or Twitter.com/G John Campbell. Every week, hopefully, I update my podcast. I interview various wrestlers on the road. You can check that out at gentlemanjohncampbell.podomatic.com. And all I have to say is, simply put, I'm simply the best. I'm devilishly handsome, wildly entertaining, and damn it, just good show business. I'm the Gentleman John Campbell, and if you don't like Hollywood's world of sports, if you can't dig it, you can stick it. Oh, Canada.
Well, thank you, John.
Yes. I have t-shirts available too, so if you want to hit me up on Facebook, I will send you a t-shirt.
Well, John, I appreciate your time today. Everybody, Gentleman John Campbell, I think he's definitely a superstar in the making for sure. Also, don't forget to check me out, Hollywood's World of Sports.
Look into the camera when you do your plugs.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, listen to me. Hollywood'sWorldOfSports.com, Facebook.com/Hollywood'sWorldOfSports, and Twitter/HollywoodJW. So I'm on all the various social networking sites. And again, John, thank you very much for taking your time out today and telling us a little bit about your career and November 24th.
Thank you for the Diet Coke.
Not a problem.